Hi everyone, so I did a reaction video to Under the Silver Lake probably about a month or so ago, but I wanted to really get into the specifics of what I really like about it. I pointed out a lot of it in the reaction video, but I just wanted to be a bit more specific in the review and go a little bit deeper as much as I can, so let's get into that. So first things first, camera composition. Actually, I'm just going to go through a few things here because they kind of all tie into what makes it all work. So the first three things: camera composition, camera movements, and dolly ins and dolly outs. Now, these things really create a certain atmosphere in this film. First thing it really makes you feel is intrigue. A lot of the camera movement, especially the dolly ins, it creates an intrigue into the story, and it makes you feel more immersed into the mystery that's happening in the film. And the camera movements are just bizarre at times too, which really adds to the quirkiness and just weird mystery that is happening. So all this type of stuff, and just overall it's just very well shot as well. But these things all are there for a purpose, to create a certain momentum and a certain mystery into the film, which I think was a really great choice. A lot of the camera things they did in the film, it's really well done in that regard. So, and another thing too that was rather impressive, it's very sneaky though, like you can easily miss it. Like I missed it multiple times as I watched this film, but there are some very just little sneaky long takes where they could have easily just cut, here, cut there. They didn't. They actually made these long takes that are rather impressive, especially this one singing scene where this character's singing on stage, and then the camera kind of goes around and goes over this crowd and then goes back to Andrew Garfield and then goes over to this bar where these people are talking for a bit, Andrew Garfield and this guy. It's really cool. Like, I'm like, wow, really impressive long take that could be easily overlooked because of how just the camera moves so fluently around the scene. Yeah, really well done in that regard. Alright, so the next thing, next two things I'll say. So 5 and 6 is lighting and color palette. So it's just a really beautiful looking film. A lot of use of yellow and blue throughout the film, which I think fits the whole setting that they're going for in like Los Angeles and stuff. A lot of like kind of water used throughout the film, but yeah, just a really beautiful looking film just in regards to how the yellow and blue is used. It just looks fantastic. Alright, so the next thing is the acting. This is my favorite performance. So in regards to the acting, this is one of my favorite performances from Andrew Garfield. Like, he is so good in it. Like, wow, I was surprised at how good Andrew Garfield was. He has some great little subtleties in his performance too, just with how his character has. He has like these little ticks in his performance. And yeah, it's not overdone, but it's done to a point where, like, I didn't even notice it actually the first viewing. But the second viewing, I started to notice little things a bit more. Kind of like Jake Gyllenhaal in Prisoners. Jake Gyllenhaal does this thing. I'll have to do that movie at some point. I'll have to do a reaction video and a review to that movie at some point, because that movie is fantastic. But Jake Gyllenhaal does this thing throughout the film where he like blinks a lot, in like frustration or just certain situations. You can see him kind of like blinking a lot more. It's really cool. Like, it's definitely a subtlety that he added into it. Same thing applies here in Under the Silver Lake. Just Andrew Garfield just has a lot of little subtleties just with his expressions, the way he says things. It's really cool, actually, the way they did that. And he pulled it off really well. Alright, so the next thing is music. Now, this is on a score level and on the music choices. Both are really well done. Like, there's a few songs in this movie that I just love listening to now because of this movie. I didn't know about these songs before this movie. Like, What's Your Frequency, Kenneth? Like, I didn't know about that song until I saw this, and I'm so glad I found out about that song because that's such an awesome song. And also, Turning Teeth, that's a pretty cool song as well. I feel like that song was actually made for this movie. I'm not sure, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it very much fits what the film's going for, and that's kind of used throughout the film, I think, to kind of symbolize an obsession this character has. But anyway, moving on to the next thing, the humor. The humor is kind of just how bizarre this film is. It just makes you laugh at just how crazy this movie is. Like, this movie is batshit insane at some points, but in that regard, it's very entertaining. Just trying to get what's going on, but at the same time, just kind of going with it and just having a good laugh. It's funny, but really intriguing at the same time. I think. Alright, so the next thing is build up. This movie is like, I think, over 2.5 hours long. But it takes its time. you really get into the mystery of it. It builds up slowly. You get revealed things in a good pace, I feel. I really like the way this movie's kind of structured. I feel like I'm gripped throughout the whole film. Even though it's long, I think it just kind of flows really well, and the build up to it creates more of a sense of mystery that makes it flow, I guess. I think that makes sense. Anyway, the next thing I'd say is it's thought-provoking. It makes you think, like, even though it's weird and it's bizarre, you kind of start to wonder what it kind of means. And what does this mean? What does that mean? And I love movies that do that. So it very much makes you think about what you're watching. So I love the thought-provoking nature this film has. Next thing is it's quirky. As I was saying before, this movie is bizarre, and I just had to give another point for just how weird and batshit insane it is. But yeah, it's really quirky, but really enjoyable at the same time, I feel. Next thing is intrigue. This is, once again, what I was saying before. It's just a very intriguing mystery. This movie creates a very intriguing mystery from the story, and just, you really get pulled into it, and you're going to get roped in along with Andrew Garfield. And yeah, it's really cool in that regard. I love the intrigue in it. The next thing is the themes, kind of the themes of just how Hollywood is, and also themes of obsession like this character has, and just things like that. I really love how they kind of display certain themes throughout the film, and kind of how women are also objectified in Hollywood as well. Like, just things like that. It really makes you think. It really does make you think throughout the film. So I really do like the themes, and those themes, once again, make it thought-provoking throughout the film. You start to wonder with the themes, is this main character just daydreaming of something, or is it real? Is it not real? And just really interesting themes of just like the psyche and just kind of purpose as well. They also kind of highlight purpose in the film, and this main character's wondering what to do with his life, and he's just running around thinking of everything else but what he should be doing in his life, just chasing after things, Really interesting themes. I love it. Next thing is setting. Being in this Los Angeles setting, like land of dreams or whatever, all these things, opportunities, land of opportunity. It's a great setting, I think, for the themes that they're displaying. For the themes that they're displaying throughout the film, it's a great setting for that, I feel. Alright, next thing is rewatchability. So yeah, really, I've watched this movie a bunch of times. I think I've watched it heaps. I've watched it a few times just in the background as I'm doing stuff, but it's just, since it's such a long movie and there's so many sections to it, I've just rewatched it so many times and really enjoyed it each time. Because there's so much more to, I feel like you can get something more out of it each time you watch it, which I love when movies are like that. Next thing is runtime. So this is number 18, so I'm getting very close to the last thing. But yeah, runtime, even though this movie is very long, I'm gripped throughout the whole thing, and I think the runtime actually really helps to create a certain build up, and then when something does kind of get revealed, it really hits you because of just how long this character's been trying to figure things out, and you realize, oh my goodness, when things do kind of get set in stone on what's going on, kind of, you're like, damn. So the battery went flat. I pretty much said everything about that point with runtime. So now the last thing. It couldn't just last a little bit longer, like another 2 minutes. No, it had to go flat right then. Alright, last thing, ending. Yeah, the ending really hits you once again, as I was saying before with the runtime. Since it's such a long movie, I feel like the ending hits you more. A specific spot in the film, I think, really hits you. Or at least it did for me anyway. It had a certain impact that I feel like it wouldn't have had if the movie wasn't as long. If the mystery wasn't as long, it mightn't have had that same impact. Because it just shows how long this character's just kind of spent his time on this certain mystery, and it's kind of, pointless in a sense. Anyway, I won't say anything more in case you haven't seen it. But yeah, great ending, I feel. Really good ending. And kind of sets his arc pretty much at the very end, kind of, if you think about it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. So yeah, 19 things I liked about Under the Silver Lake. Yeah, really weird film, and I totally get it if people didn't like this. Absolutely would get it, because this wasn't released in theaters, at least in my area. I bought it on, I think I rented it on YouTube or something like that, ages ago, and then I ended up finding the DVD, funny enough. I was like, whoa, there's a DVD of this? And now it's actually on Netflix too, so yeah, really good film, just really weird, and totally would understand if people would not like it. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below about it though. If you've seen it, what did you like about it, or maybe dislike about it? I'd love to hear. I imagine there might be some people that absolutely hate this film, and they want to see kind of what's good about it. I feel like this is a movie you can very much appreciate, because there's not many films that come out like this that are just so weird and bizarre like this. A lot of movies are very, cliche, and you can't say this movie's cliche. I don't think that's in this movie's itinerary is cliche and just generic. You wouldn't use those words for this movie. It's definitely not generic or cliche, I'd say. It's more so just so bizarre and so weird. I don't think it's weird for the sake of being weird. I think it's meant to kind of show the perspective of the main character in a sense, and just this weird environment. But yeah, I don't think the movie's just weird for the sake of being weird. I don't think personally, but I totally get if people thought that it was that. Especially if this is the only type of movie you've seen like this. If you've seen more kind of art house weird films, this probably wouldn't be as weird for you. But if this is the first one you've seen like that, totally get it. Totally get it if you were like, this movie's fucking stupid, it doesn't make any sense. I remember my first weird art house type of film. I was like, what the hell was that? I just didn't get it, and I hated it. But now I love the film. I will do a video about that one as well. I'll do a reaction and review to it, however much I can show of it though. It's a bit of nudity in it and stuff, but it's Enemy. I don't know if you've seen that film, Enemy by Denis Villeneuve. It's so good. The thing that intrigued me to that was Jake Gyllenhaal. I was very much into Jake Gyllenhaal. I still am. He's a great actor. But at that point I was just going through just different movies of his, and I saw that and I was like, what the hell is this? As you can imagine. But it was definitely worth it, because I love that film now. It's so good, just filmmaking wise. Anyway, I'm talking about a whole other film now, so we'll get to that movie at some point. But yeah, great film, weird film, but intriguing and interesting. So yeah, put your thoughts down in the comments below, and yeah, catch us next time.